where we discuss issues relating to conflict, peace, and security. I am Reverend Father Robert Achiaga, and today we are blessed with the presence of a very good friend of our radio station, Cecil Ebele. She is visiting, but we are going to task her to do something for us during this show. Cecil is going to be handling the headlines for us today. We are also joined for today's edition of the program by two very special guests. You will recognize their voices when we begin in earnest. We have in the studio Dr. Odi Ajike. He's a national security expert, a principal attorney at Dolce, Marinas Solicitors, and convener of Aruba Center for Policy and Strategy, Abuja.
Thank
And
you.
we also have Honorable Tony Uche Ezekwelu. He's a farmer, a proud farmer, an engineer, industrialist, and
All right, you're very much welcome, Father Robert. Thank you for having me come join you in the studio today. All right, let's see how it goes. Our guest today will help us unpack the topic of the day, which is
It's something they should do. It's something they should do. They want to end the war because Ukraine has been fed with what I would call the seeds by the West to confront Russia. And Russia today has thoroughly destroyed the Donbas region. The Donbas region is the economic hub, is an industrial epicenter of Ukraine. And the president confirmed on public TV that Russia has thoroughly destroyed Donbas region. And what does it tell you? You know, a lot of people don't understand the strategic focus of Russia in this war. When Russia advanced towards Kyiv and, retracted, they praised the Ukrainians and said they have put on so much defense that they've chased the Russians away. And today, those praising the Ukrainians for putting up so much defense are those who are tasking the world, who are trying to organize conferences in Switzerland on how Ukraine will be rebuilt. What it means is that Russia has substantially damaged or destroyed Ukraine. So if Donbass is gone, that's the economic hub, as I call it, the economic, epicenter. It's they have substantial deposits in coal. All the heavy manufactories in Ukraine are concentrated within the Donbas region. And the Donbas region is closer to Western Russia. It's in the southeastern part of Ukraine, and it's closer to Western Russia. So if care is not taken, they will destroy the place thoroughly. And when they destroy the place, nothing will still happen because Russia is a superpower. Today, America cannot achieve any level of sanctions against Russia without China and Europe. And today, Russia is conducting drills with China. That shows the relationship both countries have, and it's very difficult to break it. Remember that Russia has been a source of technological transfer to China all these years. So you see a replica of Russian equipment built by China, like aircraft and so on and so forth. So they've had that relationship, and it's difficult to break it. So without China, it will be difficult for the U.S. to achieve, whatever sanctions or whatever that they want to do against Russia. But we're talking about reconstruction. We're talking about reconstruction, the meeting in Switzerland. And we forget so easily that Raqqa in Syria was destroyed by the U.S. because they were fighting ISIS. Nobody's talking about reconstruction in Raqqa, Syria. The U.S. also thoroughly destroyed Raqqa, they flattened Raqqa, not even to the level that Russia has tried to deal with Ukraine now. Nobody's talking about reconstruction. So they are setting positions. They are taking positions currently. The West is taking position currently in order to know what it means to extract from that economy. So it's an opportunity for them. So Switzerland agreeing to anchor the meeting is an opportunity for them to be on the first line.
And just to add, okay, Dr. Odi, I was just going to add the Donbas region, as you said rightly, is the economic hub of Ukraine. You see, it's on the eastern part of Ukraine, also the southern part, southeastern part of Ukraine. And you will discover that it's also a transport hub, because the Black Sea leads to that place. So you have a lot of transportation, which is a major source of income for, which means if Russia eventually takes over the Donbas region, it will be very difficult for Ukraine to even be a major exporter of products, because the Black Sea is a major economic route.
And the Black Sea is held by Russia. They have the Black Sea fleet, and they have a fleet in Kaliningrad. Kaliningrad is the only area within the Baltic Seas that is off ice, year in, year out. And Russia has the capability to deny access to any, they call it the green waters, to deny access to any naval force in Europe because of their location at Kaliningrad. So we need to look at these things. It's all economic politics playing out.
Yes, I was going to also add, we'll come to you, Honorable Tony Uche, but I was going to ask, apart, beyond the economic destruction you see there, there is also so much of the destruction of culture. You know that Ukraine has also been a major participant in European football. The cities of Donetsk and Luhansk house some of the most popular sporting clubs in Ukraine. They are not going to be involved in those sporting activities.
Exactly.
But Honorable Tony Uche, this is also beyond culture, isn't it?
Firstly, I tend to disagree with Kasinga and Dr. Odi, because it's just like supporting terrorism. You know what I mean? How can somebody come in a modern society into a sovereign nation and they exercise the level of terrorism that have not been seen in recent time in a place like this? And we're talking about now, okay, see this one today. That what it will mean is that in the near future, when you see somebody that you feel you can deal with, you deal with that person, take it off, and they will say, see the person to the person. What I'm thinking now is that, yes, Russia is a superpower, and he has alliance, very strong alliance with China. But the issue is that we cannot continue to condone and allow this issue of predatory terrorism of a stronger nation upon the weaker ones to continue to go on. It's just like what the both America and Britain used to do. That's exactly what Britain did in Africa. You came from your place, you are poor with your people. You now came to a rich Africa. And they destroyed everything we have here until you are bringing in insurrection and Christianity. Why they came here to steal, to destroy. Now, that's exactly, maybe Russia will tell you we learned from Britain and from America. But such a thing should not be condoned in the world today. Destruction of Donbas, taking over of what do we call it, Crimea, and other areas, destruction of Mariupol and other areas, taking over of everything to strangle a sovereign nation. I mean, it's nothing that should be supported or encouraged by the world. The world should rise up against it. That's my own take on it. Okay. And as much as due to the inexperience of Zelensky and then the leadership of Ukraine,
okay,
they allow themselves to be brought in, and also the deceit and the what you call the chameleonic behaviors of United States and Europe are also something that everybody should learn from. But I think that the world should sit and be proactive on this particular issue. It is getting sickening.
All right. I am going to allow Dr. Odi to recast his, or to cast in broader light his position. But just to say, you have a moral plane of analysis of the picture of the state of affairs. He provided a realistic,
disinterested. He's not even personally involved in those analyses. He's just casting a picture in real terms, a realistic picture of what is going on there. But he can say it in a better.
Okay. Let me put it this way. I'm concerned about objective reality.
Yeah.
I'm concerned about objective reality, not morality. The question of morality is a personal one, and you can't use your conscience to judge state behavior. In international politics, morality is zero. What matters there is national interest. And Russia, in pursuit of their national interest, you can't use your morality to slow them down. The manipulation by the West, the manipulation of Ukraine by the West, didn't start today. Even under Trump spent so much in terms of military technical assistance to Ukraine. So they already knew they were building up this tempo, and they set up this president to agree for a battle to happen in his own theater, which is wrong. Okay, today his people are being killed. Today his country is being destroyed. What I'm saying is Kissinger has given an opportunity for this conflict to be rolled back. It may not be acceptable to you. Let's look at the population, the demographics of the Donbas region. Let's look at the demographics. You find out that there are more Russian-speaking people in the Donbas. There are more Russian-speaking people in the Donbas region. And there have been separatist groups operating within this region, in Luhansk and Donetsk. There have been separatist groups operating there. Why have they not been able to quell these groups from functioning? So when you see that territory, you have your peace. So if it's a solution that life will remain and people will live, then let them cede it. Nigeria ceded Bakassi. Nigeria ceded Bakassi.
Fraud. Nigeria did not cede Bakassi
Nigeria
because of
ceded
any
Bakassi.
security issue.
For peace.
So I think it's
Right.
not, no, it's not for peace. So it's not for peace. It was for pure economic interest of a few Nigerians.
Before we discuss, before we go into Bakassi, let me just say this.
Yeah.
We were hoping to have this discussion as an analysis of great power politics. The U.S. that you cited would behave in a worse way.
In a worse way.
You know, but let us leave it at that by saying Ukraine is not.
Father, the U.S. has destabilized so many countries.
Yes,
that we are aware.
Yes, but the point I'm going to make is, generally speaking, we are analyzing. If Ukrainians are listening, including President Zelensky, he will be able to take out of our analysis what is good for them and what is not good for them. But the analysis, we have to carry on with that. So let us move on quickly to the headlines in Nigeria.
All right, quite an interesting positions there. All right, let's come back onto Nigeria, and we've been able to pick out a couple of headlines back home. On public health and security, first we have the Punch newspaper, where the NCDC and experts warn as Lassa fever kills 152, while the Daily Trust says Yobe designates 356 clinics for maternal and child health. All right, let's move on to politics, peace, and security. You can't win with violence, so Yetola tells the PDP, and that's for the Punch newspaper. Also for the Punch newspaper, violent PDP primaries, breach of public peace, says the Edo APC. While the Vanguard newspaper on peace and security says, 2023, massive deployment of security agents as Lagos PDP hold governorship primaries. So, all right, okay, well, I guess I'll just continue, because once I leave it up to you, I think we're going to go on another ride. On governance, public policy, peace and security, the Punch newspaper says, no going back on Lagos Okada ban, and that's from the governor, Sanwo-Olu. No ethno-religious killings in Anambra,
the government clarifies, and these stories are from the Punch newspaper. Also from the Punch newspaper, Igbo officers have bright future in the Nigerian police, says the PSC commissioner. Abuja natives threaten showdown if FCTA releases May allocation to outgoing chairman, and this is from the Daily Trust newspaper. Let's move on to anti-corruption efforts. The EFCT declares Rivers accountants general and others wanted for 435 billion naira fraud, and that's from the Punch newspaper of yesterday. The EFCC breaks into Okorocha's Abuja residence and arrests ex-governor, says the Punch newspaper of today, and of course that's been trending on Twitter and everywhere.
Yeah.
While we laid siege on Okorocha's Abuja home, says the EFCC, that's their response to the siege on Okorocha's residence, and this story is from the Punch newspaper. EFCC siege, breach of human rights, says Okorocha's lawyer, from the Punch newspaper also. 23.3 billion naira fraud. Dasuki's case begins afresh after 7 years. Anti-graft wars gains must not be reversed, says the anti-graft's big boss, Bawa. That also for the Punch newspaper.
Yeah.
On environmental security and ecological peace, NIMASA reiterates commitment to effective pollution prevention and control. That's for the Vanguard newspaper. Pollution, tree felling heighten environmental hazards in Kano. Daily Trust newspaper. The federal government intervenes in 440 erosion and flood control sites from the Daily Trust newspaper. We move on to talking terrorism, banditry, kidnapping and other threats. We'll start with the train attack. Bandits make fresh demand and threaten to starve and kill victims. That's from the Punch newspaper. Also from the Punch newspaper on the train attack, families cry to the federal government as terrorists issue death threats. Terrorists kill 65 farmers and others in Katsina and Borno attacks, Daily Trust newspaper says. Day mayhem. FCTA raids forest and arrests 15 suspects, also from the Daily Trust newspaper. Lawmakers murder. Treat gunmen as terrorists. Abga urges government. That's from the Punch newspaper. Terrorists attack Katsina community. Kill 12 from the Punch newspaper. Northern groups threaten retaliation over Kingsmen's killing in Southeast from the Punch newspaper. Stop bloodshed in Southeast. Release Mama Biafra. Nnamdi Kanu begs. Punch newspaper. These are the headlines from back home.
Okay, so these headlines are quite many, but all of them of great interest. We listened to headlines bordering on public health and security, on politics and security, on governance, public policy, peace and security, but we cannot take all of them. So let us just select a few. For instance, on the anti-corruption efforts, yesterday what was trending was the siege that the EFCC operatives in conjunction with other security operatives laid on the Abuja home of the former governor of Imo State, Owele Rochas Okorocha. His lawyer has already spoken out to say that that siege was a breach of Okorocha's human rights. And the EFCC is explaining why this had to be, mentioning that there were a couple of invitations which were not honored.
Thank you so much. Worried seriously by the health situation in Nigeria. And, the Nigerian system doesn't take anything that what it is seriously. Area of health. Now look at, and you can have a stable health situation where there's insecurity everywhere. The hospitals have been attacked and all those things. Now coming back to the issue of corruption. The issue of raid on Okorocha's house to arrest him has nothing to do with fighting corruption at all. It is purely a political instrument to stop him from screening and going for presidency. because you can't tell me that the man had been roaming around, going to sitting in the Senate, moving around to different functions every time, and you did not arrest him. You see him, he comes to your office, come to other functions, go to NICON, go to everywhere, and now that he had a meeting of Southern and Southeast presidential aspirants in his house, and we're going to screen him, you now claim that to now affect the issue of corruption. Nigeria should stop all this rubbish. As far as I'm concerned, yes. As far as I'm concerned, it's my own personal opinion, and I stick to that.
I think it's not just your personal opinion. Yesterday, former Governor Okorocha, while under siege from the comfort of his home, released a video making an appeal that he be allowed to go for his presidential screening, in view of the primaries. But why you think that this is purely political? Some people look at it differently. I don't know whether
Father, please, let me just round up on that. My own take that everybody has said it. Now, if you're talking about the issue of fighting corruption, the man came and said there's no warrant of arrest, there's no order on him, there's no invitation. If they have, let them show it. Did they show? They didn't show anything. So, and purely their only is that they have order from above to arrest him and to deal with him. We have seen this kind of things before. It happened every day. When he declared for presidency, the same day was the day they remember that he had a corruption case. So why is this happening? My own take on this is that let this government of APC government and government of Muhammad Buhari stop making a ridicule of issue of governance and the issue of fighting corruption. Now, and even if we talk about the issue of fighting corruption, we look at a lot of other areas that come up. The NNPC probe, why has it not been affected? What about the issue of other? See, even the SGF that had to go and cut grass with how many hundreds of millions, and even the Attorney General that had to join the cutting of grass, and so many of other things without anybody being arrested. And we're talking about fighting corruption. And the issue today, Nigeria is one of the most corrupt, in fact, more corrupt than Nigeria have ever been in the whole government from 1960 joined together. Nigeria is more corrupt today than it has ever been toward the time of independence to date. The issue is that we should stop deceiving ourselves. Nigeria has a fundamental problem, and it is sickening. This is what is fueling this insecurity. This is what is fueling agitation for secession by the Southeast, by the Middle Belt groups, by Yoruba groups, and so many groups in Nigeria across board. Because everybody is feeling that this is no more governance. This is about greedy interest of a few cabal that is holding this country siege, milking this country dry, chopping Nigeria like crackers, or like termites, like according to Al Mustafa, that they are just eating Nigeria like termites. And Nigerians, I think a time has come when Nigerians will have to stand up and say, enough of all this. Look at what is happening in the primaries across places. Should primary place be a place of war, where party members only, delegates only, have to come to say, this is our candidate. Look at fighting everywhere, manipulation everywhere. I mean, this is a case of total failure of leadership in Nigeria.
Sorry, thank you very much, Honorable. In as much as I appreciate our opinions, and of course, when the phone lines are open, the opinions of the viewers, I would actually appeal that we mind our language just a little.
Thank you.
Yes, mind our language just a little so we can have a very effective communication.
Thank you.
All right.
Yes, we cannot say that enough. The President of the Federation, Muhammadu Buhari, we will speak with him as people who are gentlemen. And then the words that we use are going to be about communication. So we're talking some of the feelings a bit.
You see,
I was going to say, yes, there have been allegations that the siege on Rochas Okorocha's house might have been politically motivated. But the EFCC have offered an explanation. And they have stated that there have been invitations which were not honored. So I don't know if you share a different opinion, Dr. Odi.
Well, I'm always a very realistic person. All the headlines we read out today are all interconnected. They all are directed on security, peace, and stability. Corruption is a polyvalent word, very difficult to define. But we can define corrupt acts I also have a definition for corruption. I define corruption as what other people do. So people like to justify what they do and demonize what other people do. That is the Nigerian situation. I'm in line with the EFCC. The executive chairman of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission has been doing well. He has been doing well. One thing we forget that our laws do not know what an invitation letter is. What our laws know is arrest warrant. So when an invitation letter is extended to someone who has a case to answer, the person should honor it. If you cannot honor it, it's out of courtesy that they have sent an invitation to you. If you cannot honor it, then you write them or you inform them that you can't honor it. Why should he resist arrest?
And there are even legal procedures for refusing to honor an invitation.
Good. Why should he refuse or resist arrest? The law tells us what the civil authorities should do when a suspect resists arrest, to apply minimal force or force that is commensurate with his actions. All these things are there. So it's only yesterday that he remembered that he had screening and he should be allowed to go for the screening. You see, a lot of people have died. A lot of people have died
Because of
corruption. We are talking about health endemics and pandemics in Nigeria today. We are talking about issues that concerns all of us, directly or indirectly. We are talking about inadequate governance. It concerns all of us. Is there anything wrong with somebody giving an account of how you have served the people? You are called to come and give an account, and you are resisting accountability. You see, when we label everything political, we won't move forward. The man who is the executive chairman of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, he's been there. He's been in that institution for a very long time. He knows these things. He understands this. He has experiential knowledge. He has institutional knowledge. Please, we should allow them to do their work. We should encourage them. It's affecting all of us. If everything is working, we will be here discussing fashion, discussing lifestyle, discussing the best coffee shop in Abuja or in Nigeria, or the best location for a safari. If everything is working well, how will everything work well? Let me tell you something. Once an economy has gone down, once the political system has gone down, anywhere, any sector you start in reviving that system is a plus. If we are starting with the EFCC, with what Mr. Bauer is doing, he's a certified fraud examiner, with what he's doing, then we can be rest assured that there will be a better Nigeria for all of us.
We'll have to start somewhere. Yeah. If it is EFCC, good. If it is in the Drug Law Enforcement Agency,
good,
which is also working very well, good.
Good.
If it is in the church or in the mosque, wherever good, we need to start, let us just start. We will take a short break, and when we come back, we'll begin our discussion on tackling insecurity in Anambra State. Please stay with us.
Thank you.
Radio Maria 91.3 FM. You have been listening to Side by Side, and now it is time to go right into discussing tackling insecurity in Anambra State. Last Saturday, the 21st of May, the people of Anambra State, and indeed Nigerians, woke up to the sad news without his body at Nobi in the Idemili South local government area of Anambra State. The governor of Anambra State has vowed to bring the murderers of Honorable Okoye to face the full weight of the law, promising a reward of 10 million naira for anyone with useful information. Meanwhile, the unknown gunmen seem to be threatening to murder even more Anambra lawmakers. The killing of Honorable Okoye was quickly followed by the despicable and beastly murder of a pregnant woman, her 4 children, and 6 others, all northerners, in Isuro, Orumba North local government area of Anambra State. The killings marked a new low in the heightening insecurity in the state. Reacting to it, the Sarkin Hausawa of Orumba North local government area, Alhaji Said Muhammad, said another man, Abdullahi by name, who was selling roasted meat by the roadside at Nanka, was also killed at his suya spot. He told the Daily Trust until in the afternoon on Monday, when I called the police DPO and informed him about it and requested him to help us recover the remains. He told me that he cannot send his men there because of the sit-at-home order. We are now planning to leave for the north as we can no longer stay here. They are killing us on a daily basis. Killings and arson have been on the rise in the Anambra State since March 17, when Professor Charles Soludo was sworn in as the governor of the state. No fewer than 4 local government headquarters in the state and several police stations have been attacked and set ablaze within this period. This is the picture that has led us to decide to discuss tackling insecurity in Anambra State. Again, we have our guests in the studio, Dr. Odi Ajike and Honorable Tony Uche Ezekwelu. So let's begin with you, Honorable Tony Uche. The late Honorable Okoye was a lawmaker in the same state assembly where you were once a chief whip. You must feel his death differently, almost personally. So tell us, what do we need to know and how is the case unfolding?
Thank you so much, Father, and our listeners out there. I feel really saddened. It's horrific, horrifying and terrifying. You see, Honorable Okoye, we probably call him Okay the Okay. Okay is okay. He's my personal friend. I was with him just a few days before he went about. Okay, a day or 2 before he went down back to Anambra. He came here to Abuja, so he went back to Anambra. And this happened. It was quite unfortunate. And I don't really know how to start talking about it because every time this matter, with tears swell up my eyes. You know, I remember how we just built into wait, you know, till after the statute thing, he can now go after that Tuesday or so. He said, no, he has something important to do regarding the primary he was going to, because he's going for a rerun election. So he was going for the primary that was coming up. He needed to get himself prepared and meet his delegates and all that. That we were preparing for the delegate congress then. It was quite unfortunate.
Okay, it wasn't a driver.
No, it was his PA that was driving.
Okay.
They were together. It was his PA, and in fact, he also his campaign coordinator.
Okay.
So the DJ of his campaign. So they went to Umwana to see some of the delegates and supporters. Umwana is a neighboring town to Isofia, where one of his opponents is also the main opponent in the election was. He went to see the people going back to Isofia when they were intercepted. Then also they carried him and went to the nearby town called Aguruzibo. And they also kidnapped one rich man there in Aguruzibo from his house and took him with them. And they went. Then after some days, we talk about the issue of they contacted the families. And they started raising money. They paid heavy ransom in tens of millions. And the Aguruzibo man was released after some days. And he and his DG and what MPA was killed and beheaded.
Oh, So he's not the only one that was killed.
No, the both of them. So, and the other man was released. And the amount of money they paid is so mind-boggling that I don't need to start saying anything out with that. It's unfortunate. And you know what that happens? When this issue of when they kidnap people and they pay such amount of money, then it now embodies them because they make money to buy more sophisticated equipment and ammunition, and they embodies them. And then the horrible and the gruesome thing is about the issue of that beheading thing of it. I mean, such thing had never happened in Anambra before. And the direction is going. A few days after, like last weekend, in my town, I'm from Ojoto. And then in my town, it had become terrible. Even to go home now, like myself, you have to take extra technical precautions. My brother-in-law was kidnapped with his friend. And one of the people that was running for House Assembly from my town too, they also blocked them, and the driver had to do what he had to do. The man was able to open his door and ran into the bush, but they also took the driver. They took 4 of them from my town. And within that last weekend, they did about 7 kidnappings and about 1 killing within the Demre South area. And then at the end of it, they are now demanding, if I tell you what they are demanding, you can't believe it. So, and why this was happening in Demre was also happened in Anka, happened in Orumba, happened in so many other areas, happened in Ichi and the others. They also took another man opposite Patrick Ichi, close to my house, from my own village, and it's getting horrible out of hand and there. And also the threat on other lawmakers. In the end, they kept a note besides Oke's head, Honorable Oke's head, and said, they give some of these threats. But the issue of analyzing what actually is going on is something that not only the common man and security experts and deep thinking should do, because the thing is getting complex. The complications of it, at times you can say, some people will talk about is about these insurgents, the Biafrans. But what they gain by killing these people? What they gain? When you want to talk about the issue, motive behind every crime is more important, or having the motive is more important than even the crime itself.
And that is usually the work of law
enforcement agencies. And then we talk about also the reaction of the state government. The state government have been trying its best, but I think something more serious and more concerted need to be done, because Anambra is, in fact, the happening in Anambra has got worse than that of Imo. And it's getting, if not it's getting, it is totally out of hand at present. And then the worry is this. When they now start targeting the political office holder, high-profile individuals, collecting big money. And one thing about high-profile individuals they are collecting, if these things has been defined by some people by these maybe secessionists or insurgents, the issue of killing and the money they collect and the message, for instance, if somebody will be killed, it will be somebody that's opposed to their view or interest. Somebody they see that it is something that's counter to the whatever they are pushing. If it is for money, because criminality alone, why kill the person for collecting the money? Except if the people have heard or seen something in their camp, that if they kill them alive and they will reveal, it will be a problem. Some people asked, why kill the PA and behead him too? Why release the other man? And some people, some school of thought said, maybe if they have released the PA, he will talk what he has heard, because I have been kidnapped before. So, and I know that in the course of having kidnapped, I was kidnapped some years back. But I was lucky to have escaped out of them, because at times, maybe the prayers of my family and others saved me, because there was a confusion among themselves on the route to take. In course of trying to take the route, I jumped out of the vehicle, ran into the teacher shooting. I was able to dodge. I sustained serious injuries. But at least it was late, around 7:30 in the night. So after they were doing that, some vigilante people started shooting around the line, and they left me and went.
Now,
And so in the course of moving with them, I overheard their calls because they were making.
I would like to ask.
Yeah.
As a former lawmaker, you still have contacts in Anambra State. the Anambra State Governor Chukuma Soludo has already called for information
Yeah, sure.
that is useful.
Yeah.
And he has even promised a reward
10
of
million.
10 million
Yeah.
naira in that regard.
Yeah.
So, so far, are there any indications as to the identity of these people? Have the police, for instance, given any press conference in which they have made certain claims or passed on some information in that regard?
Now, not only do I have links and information, I also took the risk of going down to Anambra before I came back up. And we're doing a lot of things. Everybody's concerned. All the Anambra stakeholders, both big and small, everybody doing something. But you know, somebody say, I'm not saying that we disclose to the public, but Anambra people are now rising up to education. The police has come out to confirm that the incident happened. But they haven't been able to pinpoint on who exactly did it. It was just called the unknown gunmen. And the thing they were giving out to the public is more based on those notes that those people dropped. And then also from the information that the family, you know, when they kidnap somebody, they contact the family. The information that the family got from their contact with them, what OK told them in the time they were talking, and some of what they also told them, some of the information they are analyzing. Now, my worry about this is this. The police, the security agencies have equipment to track and to monitor. And if there have been this communication for over 1 week, and the tracking equipment are there, and those things could not be tracked, because now what I watched in CNN sometime in the past, just about recently, about this was using GPRS, satellite, about what was happening, that is a link. And that from what he found out from there, he believes that they have links with some security agents in the country. So we are working concertedly now, every person, because everybody's concerned about what to do. The governor is not sleeping. He has so much burden on him now. Everybody's putting head down to see how to get this thing nipped in the bud. But the issue is that by time you know that the state government, the state governor does not have total control of the police or DSS or other agencies. I mean, if it's a situation whereby he is the person that can take certain decisive decisions without going to somewhere outside to get it done, with this would have been simpler. Thank you.
We from Radio Maria, we send out our hearts to the people of Anambra State, and we wish the very best for the government and the security personnel that are involved in quelling this rising insecurity in Anambra State. Let me come to you, Dr.
Before you go, I also want to tell you something.
Yes.
The youth in the communities, all the communities around, have now decided to come up to now set up their own security across all the communities, and that's very commendable. So I also want to thank and commend the Anambra youth leaders and others and community leaders for coming up to now take it on the challenge as far as the world communities are in.
That's a good development, because there is no place in the world where security officers alone can do much. We just hope that they will be properly guided, and it will all be on a positive note. I was going to come to you, Dr. Odi. As a national security expert, you follow developments relating to security everywhere, not just in Nigeria, but the world over. So tell me, what is your impression about the killing of the Adamawa pregnant woman?
It's most unfortunate. It's most unfortunate. And we need to understand that when we have a breakdown of institutions, we also will experience a breakdown in social cohesion. We also will experience a breakdown in social cohesion. The woman with the children were killed, I believe, because they are not honest. Because they are not honest. There's no other explanation. But we need to understand why they do these things. Why they do these things is it could be because they are failing It could be because there's criminal insurgents, they are failing. Yes, they do it to let you know that they are not failing, but actually they are failing because there's a hot pursuit on them by security agencies. So they could be doing these things to aggravate that anger in government. And the people in turn will watch to see how government will react. So people believe, citizens will always believe that it's to create fear in them. But it's not actually to create fear, it's to, aggravate anger, state anger, to see how government will react.
Could this be similar with the trend profile of Boko Haram? When they started, they were targeting government installations.
Yes.
They came to Abuja.
Yeah.
They bombed Louis Edet House.
Yeah.
They attacked an embassy.
The UN office.
But then, when security was beefed up and the security forces rose to the occasion, they started targeting churches and later on markets and other soft targets. Is this the kind of thing we're dealing with?
Yes, because their strategy is the same across board. Is to aggravate the anger of the state. But we misunderstand it. We see it from the perspective of fear. And when you begin to react based on fear, it becomes more expensive for you. It becomes more expensive for the system, for citizens and for the government. You can see it all around Abuja, in all headquarters of security establishments, even in police divisions, they have condoned off the area as a form of deterrence. It's a reaction of fear. The police has been destroyed. The police has been destroyed, and the police was destroyed by the military. The military is now performing police duties. The police, the Nigeria Police Force, remains the largest bureaucracy in Nigeria because they are everywhere. They have real-time intelligence. The DCO in Nnobi and the DPO in Nnobi don't equip the police to do their job. It's that vacuum created by not equipping the police. That is why we have this porous state.
Speaking of vacuum,
Yes.
vacuum, I was going to come to
Good.
that.
It's just that vacuum. The police should be equipped. If the police is equipped and empowered, they will root out these miscreants.
Speaking of the vacuum, which is also about the equipping or lack of it of the police, you will discover that Anambra State and Imo State are manifesting similarities in terms of crime profile.
Yeah.
Now, on the back, during the NSAS protests, many police stations in Imo State were attacked.
Yeah.
Guns carted away and ammunition. Police officers attacked, even military officers. Also prisons were attacked.
Yeah.
Some prisoners freed and all of that. Destruction of state infrastructure and also security infrastructure.
Exactly.
That with the end of NSAS, we now started seeing the rise in criminality. And the people they were talking about, unknown gunmen and all of that.
Yeah.
Now in Imo State now, in Anambra State now, the past 2 months or so, we have seen about 4 state local government headquarters destroyed.
Yeah.
That is some kind of disruption.
Yeah.
We have also seen attacks on police stations,
Yeah.
attacks on policemen.
Yeah.
All of this, have they not contributed to creating this gap that is making insecurity thrive?
No. The gap was already there. There's always been that gap. The police, we are concerned about financialization of police. Buying new vehicles, buying new weapon systems for the police. That has been our concern. That is not where the problem of the police lies. You can't buy new vehicles or financialize security to the extent that the same structure that has never worked will work. We should focus on reforming the structure. When we reform the structure of the police and attack the internal contradictions within the police, we have very great officers We have officers that, policemen that will be sent to Anambra, they will clear that place of all these criminal insurgents. They are here. But the military will never let them do their work. The military is not doing urban patrol because they know that the line of response, the first line of response for security is absent. So if the police was not equipped in the first place, and that was why it was possible for people to go and burn down police stations. So what do you expect the average policeman to do? You expect him to come out with bare hands? You expect him to look for money to fuel his... Because he's battling with hunger. He's battling with, the hardship the system has pacified us with. So let us reform the police. Let us equip the police. We have the area command, I think one area command in Anambra State. We have police divisions all over Anambra State, even police divisions built by individuals. Then how equipped are they? How equipped are they? Do you think that the police commissioner in Anambra or the state director of security, the DSS state director of security in Anambra, do you think they are happy with what is going on? They are not happy, because it goes back to their resume. They are not happy with what is going on. The DSS cannot do it alone. The DSS has been doing their best to get credible intelligence, and they will share with other agencies. But implementation has always been the problem. How many are there?
Why has implementation been the problem? Is it because of the command structure of the police? Some have argued that a commissioner of police, for instance, answers to powers above. And when I say above, I mean above the state governor. What really is the problem? Why is implementation a problem?
Implementation is a problem. One, there is stovepiping. Every of these agencies, they have their own strategic culture. They should come together and be talking about security culture, not a strategic culture, and how they do things. Okay? Now, the DSS will generate intelligence, share with them, either to use or to refute. They will not use it in most cases. The military will feel that they have their own source of intelligence gathering. There is no intelligence that they need, even for Boko Haram, that the DSS has not provided for them. Because that is all they do. So, not that I know. I assume and I know I'm correct. There is none that they will not provide for them. Because that is all that they do. To gather information, study it, disseminate it, you put it to use or you refute it. Because it's an inductive process. It's an inductive process. It's something that is based on probability. So they know all these places. But the police are the only people who can do this, and they will do it well. There is nothing the police has failed to do in Nigeria. There is no issue. The people who are doing this thing are renegades. They are criminals. A lot of them, because of unemployment, a lot of them failed in business, and they've all gathered together, enjoying the disease of despair, alcoholism, drug abuse, and all the things they can do is what they are doing. So the police can get it together. If the IG receives the resources that he needs, he will clean up Anambra State. The other issue that we need to look at is what is called responsibilization. Responsibilization is getting people in matters of security, getting the citizens to be part of the process. Like Honorable said a while ago, that the youth in various towns and villages have agreed to come together. Anambra has always solved this problem. They had the boys Oye, and that was how they rooted out all armed robbers from Anambra State. They've had the Bakassi, and they did the same thing. They rooted out the boys. So when the communities are ready, the communities will come together. And I'm glad that he said that the communities are ready to do that. You know, in every community where wealth is extolled, you know, is given prominence,
Yes.
that is the kind of thing you will always see.
That is going to open another level of our discussion today.
Yeah.
We are going to take a break, but before the break, let me just announce that our listeners are able to call in today,
Okay.
because we have about 30 minutes left for this program.
Okay.
So for our listeners who would want to be part of this conversation, you can call us on 081 084 47518. Again, for those who would want to be part of this conversation, you can call us on 081 084 47518. Remember, when you do call, you can let us know what the security situation in your community is like. If there are threats that are real, genuine, talk to us about it. Also, you can let us know your opinion about the discussion, the topic that is under discussion in the studio here. You can also share with us some peace building and security efforts that you see in your community, which are commendable and which you would want other people to emulate. Please, do not go away. Thank you for staying tuned to Radio Maria 91.3 FM. You have been listening to Side by Side, and it has been a discussion on the topic tackling insecurity in Anambra State. As we said before the short break, you can call and be part of the conversation on 081 084 47518. All right, we have a caller. Hello, good morning, and welcome to Side by Side.
Yeah, this is calling from Kabucha.
Engineer, good morning. Please go ahead.
Yeah, in this issue that you are speaking concerning Nigerian democrats and whatever, the lack of what Nigeria are passing through is because of lack of discriminations of our constitution. What our discriminatory constitutions have spoken to us is that in any regions which has had some issues, we have to elect our senators and came together and put all these things together. And secondly, we have never done LGA census according to the statistics. And when this needs to be put together, it is through census by the European Union. And when all these things are doing that concerning the country, they never invited the European Union for census for LGA, and the statistics number have not indicated the people who are supposed to go freely in concerning of democracy. So most of all, according to the rules and regulations of democracy, not by violence and not by population, not by richness, it is according to the law. They have been agreed in the law to use it to discriminating the country and the constitution. These are one of the parts they're supposed to put together. And other ones have never sent it to the court, to Supreme Court, to put all these things in order. So this is one of the parts that is hitting against of this country. They didn't know the law. That's one of the parts.
Oh, thank you very much for your contribution.
Yes.
All right. We have another caller. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Welcome to Side by Side. Please tell us your name and where you're calling from.
Mr. Peter calling from Lokagoma.
Peter from Lokagoma. Please go ahead.
Yes. On this issue of insecurity, there's a statement you made that I want to go in accordance with it. Now you said someone should share what happened maybe in their locality to help in this insecurity.
Yes.
Like in my state, the Benue state, we're having a kind of insecurity challenges along Calabar and Sunala highway. They were seriously robbery and the burying of shadow people after killing them and all those things. The elders and the chiefs in our area there is what we have as well. They brought it and swear the elders that if any child of their soil here has hand in what is happening, any day they step out for this, they should be arrested and be brought to book. 3 days after that, the results started showing. So the elders in the state, they should wake up to the call and invoke the gods of the land, and they will see the result. That is my contribution.
All right,
thank you.
Peter.
Thank you very much.
Dr. Odi, let me just preface the contribution, the response you would want to give to that caller's list. You know, there has been quite some permutations here and there that if we had to run our societies based on the order that was installed in our primordial societies by the shrines in our communities, where there is cause and effect. You do something, some god strikes you to death immediately.
You see, he's not totally wrong. I would say this with every sense of responsibility, because we had a security culture in Africa of meat. And in India, they incorporated their traditional security culture into the current system that they run. I'll give you an instance.
Before the instance,
Yeah.
let me cue you on, if you please.
Yeah.
The Ombatse court,
Yeah.
you remember what happened?
Yeah.
If we say we'll go that way, are we not going to have a repeat of the Ombatse situation?
No. You see, we forget something. We forget that the strategies, the processes, and the attitudes that kept us away from that Hobbesian nature of brutish, nasty, short lives are not just given. These are inherently fragile processes, structures, and attitudes that we need to tend them. We can tend these processes, these structures, this attitude with our traditional values. Our values are being eroded. So these structures, processes, and attitudes are not enough to manage security, to manage our governance, way of governance, and so on and so forth. That is the challenge we are facing.
Dr. Odi, let me also say something. It's the agents that people, those institutions that we must worry about.
Mm-hmm.
Now, whether it is the traditional shrine or it is the police station, there are human beings there. And whether they function rightly or wrongly depends on the people who work in there. You might have seen or read that very often what gives many criminals the confidence to go about on rampage, wreaking havoc, killing people is charms. Where are these charms coming from? They come from the same places. So if we had a situation whereby it was possible for the people who work in shrines, the priests, the priestesses, the juju men, to give these charms only to security men who will use it only for good, we will be assured that it would work.
Yeah, remember.
But you see, you kill an armed robber here, you arrest here. The other time, a hideout of some unknown gunmen in the southeast was invaded. Found, they said, a python, the other charms and other things. This is common news. So if charms, which come from these traditional settings, also help in people in carrying out crime, what is the assurance that incorporating them will not only exacerbate crime?
Yeah, will anything be wrong with regulating them?
Well, they were always meant to be regulated. Wednesday.
No, we looked at them and we said they are not doing well, and we abandoned them. We looked at them and we said they are abhorrent to our modern values.
Okay, there is a caller. Hello, good morning. Welcome to Side by Side.
No, Father, good morning. This is Mr. Peter calling back from Lokogoma.
Mr. Peter from Lokogoma, go ahead.
This thing now, the comparison, Father, getting on charm is different from what I said. Like if you go to Igbo, they have what they call Madioha. Omadioha cannot give somebody chance to go and steal.
Okay, can I say something about the culture you're talking about, the thief culture?
Yes. Now, if you go
hello, can you hear me?
Yes, Father.
I don't think my analogy was so bad, because the swem you speak of among the thief people is not God.
Yes.
It is a traditional spiritual artifice that is invoked as a tool for installing order. So it is not a God. Amadiola on the other side
Is a God.
is a God. So your analogy is not right, okay? But when you talk about things that can be invoked and used as means for securing, for installing order, charms are numbered among them. For instance, when someone buries something, thank you very much.
You see, the point I'm trying to make is that we have traditional structures,
Yes.
processes that we use, pre-colonial structures. Now, the colonial masters came and they waved all this aside. I was talking to you about India. In India, they have what they call the panchayats.
John from Guarimpa, please go ahead.
Yeah, I want to comment on
Okay.
one issue involving corruption.
Okay.
I want to say that EFC are in order in trying to make that arrest. Arrest must not necessarily always be warrant. When a person, a matter has been charged to court, and somebody doing everything to defend person, especially somebody who is in leadership position, it is not right. And now, after several adjournments, the court has said the last adjournment will be the very last time. If at the next day the defendant was not in court, that he was going to make the case. It was now either the or the defendant made to come to court and face the trial. It's unfortunate that for that trial is the budget of the man. He always knew that and knew that it would conflict with the political activity. He should have endeavored to have honored the court process by appearing in court. Maybe with his lawyer, they may have taken a date outside this particular period of time. But unfortunately, it didn't. So, EFCC was was absolutely right in attempting to effect the arrest, and I pray to do something in that. Then, on the issue of security and the killings in Anambra State, my humble take is that an unfortunate episode that has fallen out. I agree with Dr. Odi that it's happening because the police have been deliberately neglected by the powers that be. Yes, because these are issues ordinarily the police can contend comfortably if they had been put in their proper place, go through funding and training and everything they do to treatment. But I want to say, a statement made by Dr. Odi, I find a little bit unfortunate, if not reckless, that the alleged Hausa man or woman, pregnant children that were killed, that there can be no other reason than that because they are Hausa. May not be necessarily so. Now, one will now say, ask, the honorable member who was beheaded, there can be no other reason he was beheaded other than that he's Igbo. And if that thing is happening in Igbo land, that tells me that probably it's not Igbo people that are doing that. So, but what we should concern ourselves with is not to attack ethnicity to criminality, but to handle criminality as crime, as criminality, and place it as such. It doesn't matter who is the perpetrator and who is the victim of that crime. When we do that, we will be able to be a bit unbiased and not giving the sentiment in handling issues of crime and criminality. Because by the time we begin to put ethnic coloration to crime and criminality, now it leads to the unfortunate situation whereby if the criminal has people in power, get protected because it is advisable. If the victim has people in power, the offender must be punished. That will help us. But let us call crime crime. It doesn't matter who perpetrated it and who did it. That's my humble take.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. John from Guarimpa. Please continue to listen.
Yeah, Mr. John, thank you so much. So I believe I only expressed the motive behind the killing of a woman, pregnant woman with her children, 4 of them. It wasn't intended to evoke any ethnic clash. Ethnicity has also been a manipulated subject in Nigeria, ethnicity and religion, in as much as they are not our primary threats. Our primary threat still remains poor technology penetration and low industrialization. But we manipulate these other words. But if you violated your sensibilities, I'm deeply sorry about it.
I think he suspected that what you said might be viewed in that the military be deployed to the Olu area of Imo State. You remember?
Yeah.
He said this was to quell violence on citizens perpetrated by militants. Although the governor did not disclose the identity of the militants, they are believed to be members of the outlawed group IPOB and its security network ESN. The army came in and there was some respite, even though the operation has since been immersed in a lot of controversy. With that, with what we are seeing now in Anambra State, would you say that Governor Hope Uzodimma was right in inviting the military to carry out that operation? And would you recommend that the same should happen in Anambra State?
No, Governor Uzodimma was wrong in calling in the military. because the military came in and a lot of innocent people lost their lives. The military came in as usual. They came in and treated the surface. In Imo, there was a root cause of the insecurity. And why insecurity is still prospering in Imo is because that root cause has not been treated. So normally the military will come in and there will be peace or a semblance of peace for a period, and after that it continues. Now look at also Olo, Ihiala in Anambra State. They are all very close communities. Lidu or whatever they call it, Opo. They are all very close communities, and that is the badlands of this insecurity in Anambra and Imo State. Now what the root causes are, when you don't treat it from the root causes, it will go away when the army leaves. So why have they not been able to exterminate the cause? So in Anambra, if that same strategy is applied in Anambra, it will fail. So I believe there should be a retrenchment of strategies. Retrenchment of strategies. Let the police be equipped to go in to handle this. At that point, there won't be a lot of losses. Because, you know, when you knock off some war, the criminal insurgents.
Okay, we have a caller. Hello, good morning.
Yes, good morning.
Just tell us your name and where you're calling from.
I'm David calling from.
David from Lokogoma. Please go ahead.
So concerning the show, I've called, I couldn't remember, but I called for a number of times. I don't question it like that. So concerning the discussion of what gets me to use it is basically the police are not equipped to do their duty. That's why you have in developed countries, in cases of protest, the military is not forced to kind of. If you go to the United States, we don't have a national police. When you go there, what you find LYT, Los Angeles Police Department, they've now given police states. And that is why you see the police very, very effective. If we as Nigerians cannot take the police in the states, then it is a whole workload on the federal government, from the IG to every rank in the policing department. It's very, very important to federal government. So we have to give the state policing. When you give the state policing, that's when policemen can be very, 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 very effective in Nigeria. So basically, that's just it. Which other contribution do I have to make? Okay, now in cases of equipping the police force, actually Nigeria is very, 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 very blessed. Very blessed. Very blessed. Good people. Our system in Nigeria does not really favor or does not really support the human being. What do I mean by this? It's all based on selfish interest. How many times, or if you look at the welfare packages for police, you know that policemen are trying and they are suffering. That's the truth. How many policemen have insurance, or even if they have insurance, how many of them are being treated for free? The policeman should be shot now and he's taken to the hospital. They'll sit there and do police report, which don't make sense. So the welfare package given to these policemen has to be increased, has to be more effective so that they can do their job well. We are all human beings. No matter how good I am in my field of study, or no matter how good I am in what I'm doing, if the welfare package is not there, I won't be able to work well. That is it. So the government has to create an environment for these policemen to work well. That's just all I have to say.
Okay, David, hold on. Dr. Odi wants to speak.
Very deep understanding of this security challenges. You know, there's been a tectonic shift. Our traditional stress points are no more our challenges, and they are no more our stress points. And I agree. I'm happy you agree that if the police is not equipped, this insecurity will continue to prosper. The military, they have limited capabilities in handling issues like this. It's not part of their training. Civil control is not part of their training. Even if they, learn civil control, they cannot do it extensively the way the police will do it. So let's continue to talk about it. One day, the government will have a change of mind. I'm not talking about state police. I'm talking about reforming the existing structure. And, we've not tried the state police, so we don't know how it is going to work. But reforming the existing structure of the police and empowering the policeman, empowering him, giving him social safety nets, giving him the reasonable arms and equipment that he needs to perform his job. We're going to enjoy Nigeria.
Thank you very much, David.
Thank you.
Dr. Odi, while the show was on, I received a report of an attack on the rectory, that is the residence in the Catholic Church where Catholic priests stay, the rectory of St. Patrick's Catholic Church, Gidame, Kambo, Kafur local government area of Katsina State. The parish priest there is Reverend Father Stephen Ojapa. He's a missionary of the Society of St. Paul, and his assistant Oliver Opara. The two of them were kidnapped last night from the rectory right there within the church compound. And alongside these two boys, the end of today's edition of Side by Side, I must say a very big thank you to our guest, Dr. Odi Ajike. He's a national security expert, as all of you must have noticed. He's the principal attorney at Dolce, marinas, solicitors, and convener of Aruba Center for Policy and Strategy, Abuja. Our other guest had to leave earlier, Honorable Tony Uche Ezekwelu, a farmer, engineer, industrialist, and politician, a former chief whip of Anambra State House of Assembly. We thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
And our listeners, thank you for joining on the program. The next edition of Side by Side will come your way next week. It is no longer 11 a.m. but 10 a.m. Keep listening to Radio Maria 91.3 FM. I am Reverend Father Robert Achiaga. Peace be with you.
Amen.